Hello everyone and welcome to our very first episode in our Year 11 podcast. My name's Hope, I work at the University of Sussex, and over the next 4 weeks I'm going to be interviewing some of our fantastic students to get their tips on making it through lockdown, looking after your well-being and preparing for some big life changes in Year 12 and beyond. We're going to be sending these videos out every week, so next Monday take a look at your inbox, and this week's episode is all about getting into good habits. So let's get started. Okay, so I am joined here today by Hannah and Shaq, who are both studying at the University of Sussex. Hannah is a third year student studying medical neuroscience, and Shaq is in his first year studying law with criminology. Hello, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
So, to get us started today, on a scale of cat, how are you feeling?
Oh my goodness. 2.
Nice. Excited to be alive. Shaq, which one are you?
3, I guess. I'm taken back by the pictures of cats.
So this podcast is for Year 11 students who are currently learning at home. Do you guys have any good tips for how they can make the most out of their time?
I would say it's going to sound so counterintuitive, but don't focus all of your time on purely studying. Because if you're sat at your desk for 12 hours, the amount of information you're going to be retained is going to be minimal. Like set breaks within your day. So that's to like play your PlayStation, go for a run, talk to your parents. It's like FaceTime a family member. Set breaks within your day so you're able to just have a break essentially. Because sitting doing 12 hours work is not going to benefit anybody. And if anything, it's probably going to affect your mental health a little bit more because nobody wants to be looking at a screen for 12 hours straight. So my top tip, set a break. Even if it's like 10, 15 minutes, just put the screen down and just do something different. That's the main one for me.
I completely agree. I actually fall into that bad habit of sitting there and like trying to get it all done. And it's like actually walking away from it can be sometimes the best thing you can do. I mean, for me, I think one of my top tips would be don't study in your bed. I know that sounds a bit weird because like you might wake up and think, oh, I need to study, and you're comfortable and you're like, you just grab a book and you're like, oh, I'll just read it here. But your bed's where you sleep, not where you study. So I'd make sure that you'd sort of either, if you have a desk, if you're able to study at a desk, do so. But if not, if you can just sort of find a quiet room or even in your bedroom, but ideally not your bedroom if you can get out. So you can just sort of get out of these 4 walls. So I definitely recommend studying somewhere that isn't your bed specifically, but maybe somewhere that isn't your room if you can. And yeah, varying up the environment.
And what about minimizing distractions? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I find when I'm at home and there's no one around to see, like I get really distracted by my phone. How do you guys, if you need to like get a lot of work done, how do you minimize all of those distractions so you can just get on with stuff?
Put my phone in a different room. I know that sounds like you probably heard that before, but I sometimes forget where I've put my phone, and do you know what? I don't find it, because if I find it, then I'm just on it. So it's good to have 5 to 10 minute breaks, like scroll through Instagram or TikTok, but do not be on there for half an hour, because it quickly, you lose track of time and you're like, I've been on TikTok for an hour. So yeah, make sure you put your phone in a different room. Get your drinks, get your snacks. Don't get up like after 10 minutes like, I need the loo. Go to the loo, get your stuff sorted, and then get your head focused.
So when you do get cracking on a piece of work, how long, like how do you break up your time when you're studying? Do you like to sit down and just like do 2 hours in one go, or do you break it up and do smaller chunks? Like what do you find works for you?
I giggle because I really wish I could be that disciplined. In an ideal world, I would sit there, have 2 hours, do my studying, do it, and then walk away. But what I find less stressful is actually working on it throughout the day. So I make sure that I stop in the evening. I don't work past 9 p.m. because I know I won't sleep if I work past 9 p.m. So that's like my cutoff point. And I don't start before 8 at any point. At any point, even if there's an assignment due, I don't start before 8. So make sure you have that set cutoff points. And then I work on it on and off throughout the day. So I might have lunch and then go for a walk and then come back to it. But I won't set myself rigid timetables because I find them quite stressful to keep to.
Do you find there's a different time of the day when you can like really focus?
Yeah, I'm a morning person. I like the whole idea of getting things over and done with. Like I could never leave something to 9 o'clock because I know my brain doesn't function correctly. But I've also realized that in the morning, my social media is actually quiet because people are still awake. Instagram's not popping, TikTok's not doing a thing. So I wake up at like 7, maybe 6:30 on a good day, and it'll take me about half an hour to wake up properly, and then I can start cracking because when it gets to 11 o'clock, I've already basically done 4 hours with breaks included, and I've done my work for the day, so I can still have the rest of my day. Like I am pro morning. Like if I had to choose morning, afternoon, evening, it would be the morning side.
Okay, so next question. A lot of the people watching this video are in year 11 and they're preparing for year 12, so whether that's starting their A-levels or doing an apprenticeship or something like that. Thinking back to when you were in year 12 and you'd just been through that transition, how did you find that change in terms of like learning and workload?
Sorry, that was a funny time because I don't think I appreciated the jump from GCSEs to A-levels. Because in GCSEs, you get pandered a lot. Like teachers would chase you if you don't meet your deadlines. They were like, say, oh, I'm going to call your parents in because you're not meeting your targets. When it comes to A-levels, you're much more independent. Like they're not going to chase you if you don't have your coursework in. They're not going to call your parents if you don't do your work. And that security which I had from GCSEs to A-levels and that lack of it is what really surprised me. Like because the work was much more intense, but yet at the same time, with my A-levels, I chose something that I was going to enjoy. So technically, I should be active and try what I was doing. But it was that jump from GCSEs to A-levels, it was massive. Like compared to the jump from A-levels or apprenticeships to university, it's so minimal because you're kind of used to the same type of writing, but it's the jump which is significant for me.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and that like leads me to my next question. So thinking about the current pandemic and the fact that students are all learning at home at the moment, do you think there's skills that they're going to be learning that will benefit them when they go into year 12?
Oh, wow.
Yes. I mean, I definitely think so. Like, I know that was a leading question, but
Well, we can only hope.
Well, no. So, yeah, well, the independence that you would get from taking in the material yourself, and obviously at year 11 you are responsible for your GCSEs. They're quite an important year, so you would have that motivation hopefully to study or at least try and do your best on those courses. So doing that independently then lends itself really nicely to A-level or college studying, because you don't have a tutor there, like Shaq was saying, feeding you any sort of information. You sort of have to find it out yourself. So, and you guys are doing that now. So if anything, I would actually just relish in the fact that you're developing those skills at the moment, opposed to when you get to year 12.
So Hannah and Shaq, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for all of your advice. That's all we've got time for. But before we go, we have a challenge for any of our students watching. So Hannah, please could you give us our challenge for this week?
Yes, so guys, the challenge for this week is to list 3 things that you think you can get done by the end of this week. And then every time you get that thing on your list done, reward yourself. Go for a nice walk, go cuddle the dog, go cuddle the cat, go have some chocolate, do whatever you want to do, anything that makes you happy, but make sure you reward yourself. But get those things done, and yeah, good luck.